Assalomu alaykum.
Assalomu alaykum. Va alaykum assalom.
Hozir Telegram guruhimizda e'lon bermoqchiman.
Ko'rinyapti.
Boshladik. Live qilishni boshladik. Hozir o'zbek tilida ozgina tushuncha beraman, keyin ingliz tilida olib boramiz. Ya'ni Mentor Hub loyihamizda yana bir juda bir zo'r yangilik. Mana AQShda Chikagoning Illinois shahrida
Northeastern
universitetida assistent professor lavozimida faoliyat yuritib keladigan Ulug'bek Nurmuhammedov bilan hamkorlikda aynan til baholash, chet tilida test baholash tizimlari haqida yangi kurs boshlamoqchimiz. Juda katta yangilik. Rahmat Ulug'bek uchun, bunga rozi bo'lganliklari uchun. Chunki bu juda ham bir zo'r imkoniyat. Bunday imkoniyat masalan O'zbekistonda menimcha yo'q. Bunday bu sohada bir kurslar tashkil ettirilganligini men bilmayman. Eshitmaganman hozirgacha va o'zi umuman dunyoda ham testing va assessment bo'yicha kurslar teachingga, ya'ni o'qitish metodikalariga qaraganda kamroq rivojlangan o'zi. Shuning uchun menimcha bu rahmat sizga, bu rozi bo'lganingizga. Bu aynan shu o'zbekistonliklarimiz uchun, o'zbeklarimiz uchun bir shularga foyda bo'lsin deb rozi bo'lganlar. Bo'lmasa Ulug'bekni ham vaqtlari juda vaqtlari yo'q, ishlari juda ko'p. Rozi bo'lganingizga juda katta rahmat. Endi mana boshlaymiz ingliz tilida va shu kurs bo'yicha to'liqroq ma'lumot berishga harakat qilamiz. Ingliz tilida olib borishimizning sababi chunki kurs ingliz tilida bo'ladi. Shuning uchun bu ham sizlarga bir o'zinglar uchun nima bo'ladi, agar tushunsanglar, demak kursimizga kelishinglar mumkin. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us. So we have Dr. Ulug'bek Nurmuhammedov from Northeastern Illinois University from Chicago, USA. So he kindly agreed to conduct a course for us for Mentor Hub project on language assessment. It's a great opportunity for people in Uzbekistan, and not only so, if there are people who want to join from abroad as well, we are also welcome. So because there are very limited opportunities to get some training in language assessment. So thank you, Ulug'bek. So could you please tell us more how it will be delivered? So let's start. Do we mean by online course, how it will be delivered?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, Nadarpa. Thank you so much for inviting me and also offering this idea to offer this language assessment course for Mentor Hub. That I know that we actually talked about it, 4 months ago, right? As far as I remember, you actually asked me whether there would be a possibility for me to develop this language assessment course for our colleagues in Uzbekistan, right? And I mean, I couldn't do it at that time because 4 months ago, it was the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak, right? And we were new to lockdown and shutdown, and we all had to do quarantine.
You remember even we talked about it before quarantine, before the pandemics. It was kind of the idea of launching these online courses. I think it was in February or January when the world was kind of different. But now, with this pandemic, I think it's kind of a high time to do this course.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. We even talked, before that. But one of the reasons I couldn't do it at that time right away was that because we were new to quarantine system, right? And also we were new to online teaching. I mean, teachers had to make a quick decision, right? I mean, and also most of the teachers are parents, right? So not only like in terms of our profession, also dealing with the administration, but also like how we deal, you know, with our spouses and, you know, children at home, and how we can help them accommodate and all that, all those, you know, issues. Now we sort of got used to that. And then another challenge was that, well, I mean, I've been teaching assessment courses in the US since 2015, okay? And then, I mean, before that, I took assessment courses as a graduate student. So usually what happens in the USA is that when you take a regular assessment course, it takes, you know, like one course lasts for about like 13 to 15 weeks, right? So, and that's fine. But obviously I couldn't offer this 13 to 15 week course for the, you know, teachers in Uzbekistan, right? I had to shorten it down, right? So I had to do some thinking. And plus, you know, when we are in the USA, we usually read lots of books on assessment.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I couldn't require these textbooks, you know, from the colleagues in Uzbekistan. I don't question their ability to read the books. It's just, you know, I just, you know, when you're online and offering an online course, it's just sort of impossible to have this 13 to 15 week course. So I had to customize it, right? I had to make it 4-week long course so that teachers can teach at their respective institutions, take care of their family, and also take this course, you know, as a sort of an additional professional development course or opportunity. So this is a 4-week course, and our course, this specialized, customized language assessment course for Mentor Hub. And so how the course will be delivered, which is a very good question. So we will use Zoom, okay? We will use Zoom platform, and we will meet via Zoom 2 times a week, so twice a week. And you know, our sessions will last from 1 hour to 1 hour and a half. During this time, I will, you know, give general information about assessment, you know, terminologies, and we'll do sorts of mock exercises to teach students how they can use, to teach basically teachers how they can use assessment to facilitate or supplement their teaching. And I will also use Google Classroom. And Google Classroom will be used to host my course content. So instead of reading books, the students who are planning to take this course will read short articles taken from peer-reviewed journals or book chapters. And I selected them to make sure that our colleagues in Uzbekistan can handle the language difficulty of these articles. Okay, so these are very teacher-friendly. These are not like technical manuals. These are teacher-friendly articles. So yeah, so live sessions will be held on Zoom, via Zoom, and course content will be delivered in Google Classroom. Once students register for this course, I will send them an invitation, then they can sign up for the Google Classroom. By the way, it's also going to be a great opportunity for teachers to know how to use Google Classroom. And I know that in your session, you know, in Mentor Hub, there were a couple of sessions on Google Classroom. I know you did one, and our colleague, Dr. Delvaron, Gulnaza. Yes. She did a beautiful presentation. I just enjoyed it. I learned a lot about that. So and the third technology that we'll be using just for quick communication or quick chat would be Telegram. So we'll set up we'll create a separate Telegram chat group. So in case students have a quick questions, so I can respond to them, you know, like, and also students should expect homework in every session, okay? And I will grade their progress, because I myself as a teacher want to make sure that students are learning, so I want to assess their teachers' literacy as well. Yeah, so 3 things: Zoom, Google Classroom, and Telegram. These are the 3 technologies how I plan to deliver the course content.
So it will be kind of a good practice of combining synchronous and asynchronous modes of online learning, right? And
exactly.
So they will have they have the opportunity, hands-on experience of using these both, right? So then they can apply the same model in their own classrooms, right?
Exactly. Yeah, Zoom, as you said, you know, synchronous, right? And you know, these Google Classroom and Telegram asynchronous. Yeah. So, and on top of my email.
Great. Yes, sure. Thank you. And yeah, and the Mentor Hub will be all like for administrative support if needed, right? So, and the technical.
Yes, exactly.
So that we don't bother Olympics so much, you know. Okay, so thank you. What about the content? So, okay, we know how we're gonna learn. So, what participants are gonna learn about?
Okay, I'll be reading a few things from the from the syllabus. I have the course syllabus ready. Like if
Okay.
some of the students are interested, I'd be very happy to forward the course syllabus to them. It's ready. I also have a weekly schedule, so for 4 weeks. Okay, so this is a assessment course, language assessment course for language teachers. So that's why we'll mostly be talking about formative assessment and also classroom assessment, also alternative assessment. I mean, we'll also briefly touch upon issues that are encountered in high-stake tests, right, such as IELTS or CAFR test, from Davlat Test Markazi, and also some of my examples will be from a popular high-stake tests such as IELTS, TOEFL IBT, and also ACTFL, right, which are commonly used in the United States context. But we'll mostly be talking about classroom assessment. So I designed the course I believe will help you to improve your language teaching and language assessment in your respective institutions, whether you are teaching at the university level or whether you're teaching at a secondary school level. So I believe that I designed the course that will help you improve your language teaching in your respective context. Now, I think there are 5 course objectives. First, you will become familiar with the terminology and concepts that are frequently used in language assessment, okay? Whether you read this book or that book or the other book, it doesn't matter. Whatever language assessment textbooks you open, there are frequently used terminologies, such as achievement test, diagnostic test, or validity, reliability, washback. So I want to make sure that you guys have a clear understanding of some of the terms that are used in the field of language assessment, okay? And so second one is we will talk about designing informal tests and also formal tests, okay? And also the students will be given an opportunity to evaluate some of the popular tests from some of the assessment principles. Like, for example, if a student is taking an IELTS listening test, how do we know that it's a valid listening test? How do we know that it's a reliable test? Okay, is it a practical way of assessing students speaking? For example, if you look at IELTS, right, 2 people are talking to each other, right? There's a proctor and also there's this student. And is it a practical way of assessing someone's speaking ability? So we'll be evaluating some of the assessment instruments that already exist. And also we will talk, and I'll also teach you how you can design an effective and also reliable tests. Particularly, we'll talk about different formats, specifically like multiple choice test and true and false test. And also, if you're assessing somebody's writing ability, how you can assess that person's writing ability. We will also be looking at some of the rubrics, okay? So by the end of the course, you will have a pretty good understanding of what classroom assessment entails, and also what you have to do as a teacher to improve the assessment component of your classroom teaching. Because one thing I notice is that a lot of teachers are afraid of assessment. I used to be afraid of assessment too. I mean, for me, assessment was evil. Literally, it was evil. And I think that's why a lot of teachers are not interested in assessment. I myself, up until my graduation at NAU in my PhD degree, I didn't like assessment. But then after reading for a while what assessment is all about, what is it and why teachers should be using it, I started noticing that assessment is the critical component of language teaching. Why? Because if after you teach something, right, you have to know whether students learn that content they taught or not. Right? You have to be able to identify the progress the students made. And one way to do that would be to give a test. And the test can be a good test or a bad test. And I hope that in our language assessment course specifically designed for Mentor Hub will teach or inform our teachers, colleagues in Uzbekistan, how they can best assess their students so that they avoid bad assessment and they use good assessment to make sure that assessment really helps them. Assessment becomes their friends, not foes, not enemies. So these are some of the areas that I'll be discussing in my course. And by the way, we will not be using a textbook. So I actually selected certain articles, and I will assign certain articles as a required reading. And during our live synchronous sessions, we'll be discussing the content of those articles and what the authors meant to say.
Great. So you'll be kind of pre-selecting the creme de la creme, right? So the best,
Yes.
the content, right? So that is
Yeah.
that they can relate to their practice, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those articles were written by mostly from by the so sort of big names, right? By established professionals in the area of assessment. And so like for example, we will talk about vocabulary. So we know that a professor from New Zealand, John Reed, is very famous on vocabulary. So students will be reading his article. Or Paul Nation and Anthony Taylor actually wrote a paper on vocabulary assessment. So we'll be reading that paper. Or when students want to learn about reading assessment, there is a great paper, a chapter by my professor, William Grabe. So teachers will be reading these articles written by people who are established in the area of second language assessment. And during our live sessions, I will be using PowerPoint presentations, and my PowerPoint presentations will be available through Google Classroom.
So it will be kind of a great blend of theory, like kind of good solid fundamentals, right, of the theory of testing and assessment, as well as hands-on experience of designing and evaluating tests, right? So
exactly. So that's exactly so basically there is going to be the there is this great model, right? I think it's also famous in Uzbekistan, this PPP, right? What like present, practice, produce, right? Exactly. So it's going to be exactly the same way. So during our Zoom sessions, I'll be presenting some of the terms and articles. And also within the Zoom session, I will give them a certain exercises. And so we'll go over that exercise. And the practice component will be based on the exercise we did in class. So students will be doing some of the hands-on experience, and they will be asked to solve the problem. And we'll be using, by the way, because it's a part of the Google Classroom, we'll be using Google Docs. So right in Google Docs, I have ready platforms, exercises. So the students will have to fill out certain exercises using the Google Docs. Once they register for the course, I'll share the Google Docs with them. And so they have to complete the exercises on it. And I will give them a feedback on a timely manner. And so it's not only like talking via Zoom and reading the articles, but also working on the hands-on practice activities. And I provide them with feedback, because we know that a good teacher is a reflective teacher. And the best way to reflect would be to get feedback.
Great. Yeah. So like so many terms like Google Classroom, Google Docs, Zoom, but I think people should not be too scared, right? So they will get support, right? If they don't know how to use this technology, right? So they will get support from you, and I can help, right?
Exactly. So that's, I think this is a great point, right? Because right now, because of the quarantine, we are asked to teach remotely, right? For example, our daughter goes to the third grade in the USA. She will be taking her classes remotely because of the ongoing pandemic in Chicago, in Illinois State. Or I'll be offering all of my classes. I'll be actually teaching 4 classes in my university, and I'm offering all of the classes online. So, and sort of what I'm trying to say is that teachers will not only learn the content, but hopefully they will also get familiarized with new technologies like Google Docs, Google Classroom, Zoom. I know that many of you are familiar with Zoom, and Telegram. Many of you are familiar with Telegram. So I'll do my best to accommodate them and also help them if the help is needed. And to be honest with you, I'm also very excited, because I've never done that before. I've given webinars and have been teaching in the United States, but I've never given a 4-week course. So, and we're doing it in collaboration with you, right? I mean, I rely on you on doing most of the things, and also I'll do my best to help you. So, I mean, this kind of, as long as the teachers, the students who are taking this course, they have access to the internet, they should, and also they have access to a laptop or an iPad, right? They call it planchette, right? As long as they have access to this, and also willingness, they should be able to successfully complete the course. And I assume that they have to expect to spend from 5 to 7 hours a week for that course. Yeah. And again, for some people, it might take 3 hours, right? Some people, it might take 8 hours. I mean, it's up to their strategies and everything. And we have deadlines, but and so as long as they meet these deadlines, and that's one of the reasons I will be available via Telegram. I don't promise to respond like within a split second as soon as they press the send button to me, but I do my best to respond to their queries within 24 hours. Because that's my training in the United States. My professors used to respond within 24 hours. So I do my best to respond within 24 hours. So they'll be taken care of with your help.
That's right. I think that is the difference between these kind of online courses and, other courses like MOOCs, the massive open online learnings, right? Where there is a kind of minimal teacher support, right? Almost zero, right? So, or like video lessons, right? There are some kind of, but there is no kind of two-way interaction, right, with the teacher, with the instructor. And in most cases, the motivation like fades away like after 1 or 2 hours, right? Because like when you cannot talk to the instructor, right? So it kind of discourages people.
Very good point. I just want to piggyback on that. So I taught an online course for the first time in 2013. When I was a graduate student during the summer, I taught an English methods course at Northern Arizona University, the opportunity which I'm grateful for, because that was sort of a stepping stone for me to start interested in teaching online. And I taught this course under the supervision of 4 instructors, four professors: Dr. William Grabe, Dr. Friederike Stoller, Dr. William Crawford, and Dr. Luke Plonsky. And I remember, like, in terms of developing the content, I talked to Dr. Friederike Stoller and Dr. William Grabe, like my mentors. And to talk about how to deliver the online course content, I talked to Dr. William Crawford and Dr. Luke Plonsky. And when I talked to Dr. William Crawford, he gave me one of the best suggestions. What he told me was basically the effectiveness of online courses. What he said was that it would depend on 2 bodies: the teacher and the students. So the teacher should respond to students' emails, preferably immediately or within 24 hours. That's what he said. And another thing is that students, as soon as they have a question, if they cannot locate something on the learning management system, right? Or if they cannot find something, or if they're confused, or if they didn't understand the homework, they should immediately email the professor. So that was one of the best suggestions I've heard. So that's why every time I teach an online course, I usually freak out because I have to respond to students' emails immediately, right? Because the student is probably working on online content when the kids are sleeping, or before the kids wake up, or during the lunch hour. Because I myself remember talking to some of my students who are teachers in Chicago during their lunch hours. Right. Otherwise, they didn't have time because their kids were waiting for them at home. Right. And at school, they had only this 1 or 2 hours lunch hour at their school. So that's why I agree with you. The difference of this course from other, MOOC, right, MUEC course or Coursera would be there's going to be interaction. And speaking of interaction, maybe there are some colleagues who teach German but speak English, who teach Spanish, but speak English. They can also take this course, but just to warn them that the course content will be delivered in English. But if they have some questions, they can still ask me in Russian or in Uzbek. So that's a possibility. But I would encourage them all to complete the assignments in English. But if they cannot, or if they don't feel confident, but they can still complete the course assignments in Uzbek if they want. But all the examples, all the course content, readings, PowerPoint presentation slides will be in English.
Yes, great. So this is the kind of because the principles of language assessment are the same, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's great. So I think that's another advantage is that while they can practice their English language, right? So still, like, they can clarify points in their native language, right? Whether it's Uzbek or Russian, right?
Exactly.
So that's a great benefit, right? Which they don't have anywhere else.
Exactly.
And another thing I think is also this customization to the Uzbekistan context, right?
Yes.
Because you are aware, besides this, world experience, international experience, but you're aware of the Uzbekistan context,
Yes.
puts you kind of in the best position to be able to give feedback or to give some kind of advice, right, on what works there or what doesn't, right?
Exactly. So yeah, for example, attending some of the webinars that you organized and you supervised were a great way for me to also, to go back to the Uzbekistani context. And, Mentor Hub group, that the Telegram group, which has over 1,300 people, right? Which is incredible. So talking to them, following their interactions, actually really gave me some ideas what kind of audience I will be dealing with. And also I have to give a credit to two of my colleagues, Hassan Ahmadjanov, I think, who teaches in diplomacy, who took a similar course long time ago, and he gave me some ideas what he liked and disliked about the courses that he took from the instructors from the US. And also Shahzu Sharahimov, who teaches at the Medical Institute Tashmi in Tashkent, who also gave me some ideas what teachers would benefit from, what kind of content I have to incorporate. So in other words, I did my best to do my homework and to customize it to the Uzbek audience. And I hope that this is not the first one. I hope that we'll offer this course, many years to come. And I'm very excited to offer this course to this first group of cohort of students. As in Uzbek, we say qaldarwachla. So, and so that based on the feedback that we get from them, I hope this course will be better and better.
Yes, great, thank you. Yeah, and when we mean interaction with the teacher, it's not kind of question and answers, but also kind of giving feedback, right? So you will be providing feedback to what they design, right?
Of course.
Which you don't have that as in other kind of massive online learning courses, right? So you kind of you don't get feedback, you don't get assessed, but what you do, right? So on your progress in the course, right?
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons we'll be having Zoom sessions, and also I will be using Google Docs, because one cool thing about Google Docs is that each student, for example, if there are 10 students in the course, I will create 10 different Google Docs and share the document with that individuals, so that whatever comment I give, imagine I have a student, Otabek and Malike, right? By the way, Otabek is my youngest brother's name, Malike is his wife. So imagine I have a student, Otabek and Malike, right? So for example, whatever comment I give to Otabek, Malike will not see it. Whatever comment I give to Malike, Otabek will not see it. In other words, I will be giving this individualized comments so that our teachers and colleagues feel confident and also don't feel shy about it, because I think
they don't lose faith, right?
Exactly, they don't lose faith. Exactly, because otherwise we are coming from this uyat culture, oh, how come my English is not good,
Right,
oh, you have to see our daughter who corrects our pronunciation all the time.
Oh, I know, my children too.
and
I
they
have
start
the best teachers.
exactly. So we developed the deep skin, right? Thick skin. Vietnamese hot kid, they come and say, I mean, she's been doing it nicely. Did you mean like a Pete or pit?
Yeah, exactly. These short vowels. I think we all I remember I said stickers. It's not sticker. What is that? Stickers. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. So that they should feel comfortable, and we know, right? And that's one of the reasons I love my mentors, like Frederica Stoller. Once you are a learner, you're always a learner. So we'll basically, learn things together, and students will have an opportunity to get feedback from me and to work on it. And I hope, whatever content they will be learning from this course will contribute to their teaching, and also will enhance their language teaching in their context and supplement and facilitate student learning, right? At the end of the day, we are involved in professional development to help our students, right? I mean, that's the beauty of language teaching.
Great, yes. Yeah, and when you were saying Google Classroom, I thought as you were mentioning, people they can do the assignments whenever they have time, right? And whenever and wherever, right? So as you were saying in Lightroom, right, during lunch or whenever, right? At time. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then when you're kind of completing the assignments, and then like on Google Docs or other types of assessment, then they are getting kind of individual tutoring from you, right? So
Yeah.
it will be kind of private kind of lessons, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what's
Right.
going to happen. And some of them might be wondering, like, how come I'm using Google, Docs? I've actually been using Google Docs in my teaching context here. Oh, sorry, I think ambulances. Can you hear the ambulance or firefighters? No? Okay, good, good. And so, yeah, I've been actually using Google Docs in my teaching context in the US, and my students love it. Just for the same reason, right? They've been getting these individualized comments, from the instructor. And the good thing is nobody knows, what kind of feedback they're getting. And sometimes, one of the good things about Google Docs is that when the course is over, they can keep that document with themselves, right? And another good thing about Google Docs is that whatever they write will be, saved automatically. And so in our first session, I will be briefly talking to them about Google Docs, how they can use it. So I hope that by the end of the course, they will feel confident in using the Google Docs and about what it does for them.
Yeah. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, like kind of your background? So I think we had to start with that. I just kind of skipped that, assuming that people know you.
Oh, okay.
But for people like who don't know you, can you please tell us like about your background and your experience?
So I'm Ulugh Nur Mohamedov. So I was born and raised in Tashkent, and so I entered Jahan Talari University, right? It was Uzbek State World Languages University in 1998. So because I mentioned Jahan Talari University, I have to mention my mentor, Dalaram Gazieva. So I was her student, and after studying for 2 years under her tutelage, I transferred over to the translation department. And so I studied there. So over there, I remember taking courses from Omar Mominov, Joyla Janatabasan, Artak, Sultanov. So I'm blanking on his name. And also David Byers, I was in the translation group. And so, and after that, I also pursued my MA in translation at the same university. And I was fortunate enough to have met people like Ilmiriddin Namuratova. And through Ilmiriddin Namuratova, I met you. So I also took some courses from Nodrapa. Nodrapa used to come as a PhD student and to teach some of the courses to us. And then afterwards, in 2004, I came to the United States to pursue my MA degree in TESOL at the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. So, and I did my degree there, MA TESOL degree. And at that university, I took a assessment course from a well-known professor, Fred Davidson. So you guys can look up his name. He's a very influential person in language assessment. And so I was lucky to take this course. And upon graduation of the MA TESOL program between 2006 and 2010, I worked as a visiting lecturer at the Intensive English Institute at the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana. So I taught ESL courses to international students like myself. I mostly taught academic writing, grammar, vocabulary, academic speaking courses. And then 2010, I went, my wife and I moved to Arizona to pursue my PhD in applied linguistics. My wife is also from Tashkent, but she's not a language specialist. She's into finance and economy. So,
somebody can finance our hobby.
Exactly, but exactly, but she's an amazing language speaker. She's the one who usually corrects my mistakes. Like, every time I write something, I usually show it to her, or like, sometimes when I give webinars, I usually tell, what do you think? And she's the one who gives me feedback. She's like, oh, you are not confident here, or why you were slow here, or like, why you were so fast here. Anyway, so she's my best mentor as well. So, and by the way, she also taught finance and business courses in the US because she has an MBA degree. We actually studied together at Northern Arizona University. So while I was at Arizona, I took an assessment course from my mentor and teacher, Dr. Joan Jamieson. So please remember this name because Dr. Joan Jamieson played a big role in reforming the listening section of TOEFL IBT. So she was in the team.
Wow.
Yeah, and three more professors from Northern Arizona University were in the team of TOEFL IBT when it went through reformation. So Dr. William Grabe and Dr. Frederick Costola were in the team that was responsible for reading, and Dr. Doug Biber, right, corpus linguist, he was, I think, involved in the writing section. So so I was very lucky to take courses from these. Exactly, very established people. So and yeah, while I was at Northern Arizona University, I took courses on corpus linguistics, vocabulary, reading, and assessment, and methodology. And my thesis was on collocations, how students, second language writers, can use collocations to improve lexical accuracy in their essays. And so I graduated from the Northern Arizona University's PhD program in 2015 and went back to Uzbekistan because I thought I might be able to find a job in a university. And then, but at that time, it was a different time. At that time, 2015, US accredited diplomas were not accepted. Yes, US, yeah. I did my US degree in English and went back to Uzbekistan, and my diploma was not accepted. It hurt me a lot. It took me some time to go through this process. But then I also talked to people. And what they told me was that I could do my PhD diploma from the US would be accepted as long as I do another PhD in Uzbekistan and spend 3 years there, and then it would go through accreditation. Then, you know, they would look at me as an assistant professor. I didn't like this option. And I came back to the United States. I got a job at the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana, where I did my master's degree. So, and then after teaching there for 1 year as a lecturer, then I got this assistant professor position at Northeastern Illinois University. And I have 2 kids. So we have 2 kids. Oldest one is 8 years old, 3rd grader, and the youngest one is will be 4, will turn 4 soon. And so I have 2 princesses and a queen. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, and we live in Chicago. We love Chicago because there is the Uzbek American Association of Chicago.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing association.
Yes, and please, you know, if you have Facebook account or Instagram, type Uzbek American Association of Chicago, and you know, we do all sorts of activities. My wife is involved in the association. We love the association, and that's, I think, in addition to my university, which I love, and you know, I feel supported by my colleagues. I have creme de la creme colleagues. So in addition to the university, we love this, you know, Uzbek community. In fact, we live in Chicago, but most of the Uzbeks live in northwest part of Chicago, Illinois, northwest part of Chicago. So like it takes us about like 30 minutes to 40 minutes to get close to the mahalla, so communities where Uzbeks live, and we are actually planning to move closer to them, you know, and that's a big part of my job. Yeah, so that's about myself.
Great, thank you so much. And I think now, like with the help of technology, these online courses help you, you know, like, because, you know, nowadays Uzbekistan, they're talking like, you know, bringing our like vatandash from abroad and let them teach in Uzbekistan, right? But I think nowadays with this online technology, it doesn't really matter, right? Where you are, right? So it helps us to connect no matter where we are. So I'm connecting from Canada, so you're from US and Uzbekistan. I think that's a great.
Yeah, exactly. You are absolutely right. Yeah, like for example, when was that? Like, you know, Mentor Hub, right? Active, right? You know, we actually talk to each other, right? And by the way, I also have to mention, Nadrapa, that one of the reasons going back to Uzbekistan in 2015 was that I really wanted to help. You know, I really wanted to, but also I wanted to help where the help was needed.
Exactly.
You know? So and I was so disappointed because, you know, I couldn't stay, right? I had to come back, and which was one of the best decisions. But then after I saw you active participation and involvement in Mentor Hub, for me it was a great opportunity to give back to you know, people of Uzbekistan. Like, yes, I'm Uzbek. I'm currently in, I'm from Uzbekistan. I'm currently in the United States, but also I can talk to my colleagues in Uzbekistan, and I can share some of my knowledge that I got with my colleagues in Uzbekistan. And during Mentor Hub, I learned a lot as well. Like people shouldn't underestimate what they're doing back home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
True,
like
right?
Google Classroom, right? Google Classroom, I learned it from Dr. Gulnaza and from some of your, things. Or like, you remember you recently did a sessions with IELTS instructors. So I learned, or
Yes.
like, I didn't realize that there is a great professor in the UK who teaches Dr. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I read this paper by Simon Borg, and now I'm using that actually paper in my teaching.
Great.
So it's actually helping, like as they say in English, scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. So it's like we're complementing each other.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, that's the thing, right? So like people there are talented people in Uzbekistan, right? So and everywhere else, right? And it doesn't really matter, right, where we are. And actually that's the beauty, right? We kind of learn something new in the environment we are teaching now, right? Whether you are in the US, in Canada, wherever, right? We have participants from different parts, from Turkey, Korea, and different, right? And they are sharing, right? So because that's how it works nowadays, right? Great.
Exactly.
So yeah, you mentioned about the your diploma and other stuff. So by the end of the course, the successful graduates, right, are going to receive the certificates, right, issued by Mentor Hub with your signature in mind, right? What do you think, where they can use that? What will it give them?
So, one of many things they will learn during the course would be they will learn how to develop an effective assessment instrument. Okay. So that's like, for example, whether it's a multiple choice or whether it's true and false. Second of all, we'll also be discussing rubrics, right? Like when you assess writing, you need to have a rubric. But what is a good writing rubric, right? What is a good rating scale? So we'll be discussing things like this, okay? So maybe, they can apply for the British Council and ask them whether they can be a rater for the IELTS writing exam, right?
Oh, IDP.
Exactly, or IDP. And they can also maybe talk to, some of their colleagues in DTM and tell them they know how to construct and create effective multiple choice tests or any test formats they want. And because they know the principles that are used, behind designing an effective test. So yeah, that can, and also the third one is if they're changing their jobs, for example, right? If they want to switch their jobs, maybe they can indicate that they've taken this course, 4-week language course, from the US professor, and they've done so and so activities to complete the course, and maybe they can bring some of the examples from the course, to actually their employers and let them know that they completed certain activities to be eligible to create effective assessment instruments.
Yes, that's right. And because there are very few actually specialists in language assessment in Uzbekistan, right, who are trained by international experts. They're very, very few, right? So yeah, being like, I think that will give them advantage, right, over others. Then they can apply in other jobs, or maybe in other projects, right, international or local projects, right?
Exactly.
But also that might be also an idea for them to pursue their PhD, right? So they might get some ideas for their PhD thesis, right?
Exactly. Like, actually, one of the reasons I started liking assessment, as I told you before, I hated assessment because I had to take GRE tests several times. I had to take TOEFL, IBT. My wife had to take TOEFL, IBT, and GMAT, to pursue her MBA degree. So anyway, so we had this bad impression. Exactly, right? And many teachers actually in the US also hate assessment because of the administrative issues that it involves. And also right now what's happening in the US is that, so if your students perform poorly on the test, their students' assessment scores will influence on the teacher's salary.
Oh, wow. In school?
Exactly. In
wow.
school. So anyway, so that's one of the reasons, you know, teachers
Yeah, that's
actually
the
hate it.
ethical part, the ethical
Yes.
part of it, right? So like
Exactly.
whether do they have the right or not?
Exactly. That's an ethical part, but also it's what's happening in the United States, in Chicago right now. So, and now I personally started loving assessment while working on my PhD dissertation. Because we know, right? I mean, whatever research you are doing, your results are dependent on your assessment instrument.
Exactly.
Right? If you didn't assess your participants, let's say, in your research correctly, then your results are correct. If you do it correctly, your results are reliable. But if you don't do it correctly, right, then we cannot trust your findings. So that's why if you're a PhD student, you're an MA student, you need to have a really good, reliable assessment instruments. And so that's one of the reasons I'm actually bringing these articles written by established people in the field, so that every time these researchers talk about assessing a skill, whether it's listening, speaking, listening, or writing, they always bring this issue of validity and reliability.
That's right.
You see? So that's why if there are PhD students out there or master students who are into research and they're working on their research, and they better work on the assessment instrument, because without an assessment instrument, they will not have a reliable outcome.
That's right.
And the reliable outcome basically means they just wasted their time.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Right. But also, like, coming back to language teachers, like, on the one hand, they should kind of differentiate between teaching and testing, right?
Yes,
So like,
yes.
teachers shouldn't be always testing, right? Or the vice versa. And on the other hand, they kind of should be, they should test what they teach.
Yes.
Right? So like,
Exactly.
not like that happens sometimes. They teach, and then when it is test time, they take somewhere else from some books, or like, and then they just give it, right? So like, and then students are like at a loss, right? Because
Exactly.
they've been taught to do that, right?
Exactly. And so that's also a good issue. Like, for example, teachers think, you know, when we talk about assessment, a lot of teachers think that, you know, it's all about formal assessment, which is giving a test, right? Oh, it's the middle of the semester, let's give an achievement test. Oh, it's the end of the semester, let's give the final test, right? But no, there is also informal assessment, which is an alternative assessment, right? Just to asking student, is it clear? Did you understand? This is also a type of assessment, right? Because you are checking the student's comprehension, but it's an informal assessment, right? Or sometimes when we grade students' essays, right, we just look at them and we're like, okay, I noticed that there are 15 students in class, and let's say 10 of them, let's say, made a past tense error. It's also a type of assessment, because you're just observing, and based on your observation, you are making certain claims. And the next time, if you're a good teacher, if you're a practicing teacher, then you have to address this issue, because majority of your students were making errors in that, doing errors in that particular domain. And I think another useful things will be about the class would be, you see so many books. So I will be giving the references of these books, and one of the reasons I love these books is that they are specifically designed for language professionals. So these textbooks deal with language assessment, because in many U.S. Institutions, assessments are taught by professors in the education department. You know, education department involves math, physics, biology, right? And some of the good TESOL or applied linguistics programs have their own language assessment specialists. And so some of these books were written by TESOL professionals who got solid background and training, research and teaching ground training in the language assessment. So that's why our colleagues will be taking this language assessment course. Will also get a list of textbooks that are frequently used in the area of language assessment.
So that if they want to explore this further, they can go and continue reading, right? Great.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much. I think we covered all the main points. So just to remind everyone, the course is starting this week already, so August 15th. So if you haven't registered yet, please do so. I left our Mentor Hub bot. If you have, you can address all the questions there. And yeah, Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And I just want to let you know that whatever administrative questions you have, please talk to Nadrapa. Whatever administrative questions.
Yeah, that's right. So we don't want to bother Ulukbek, and because he's super busy.
We're all busy.
And we're really grateful that he agreed to do this. So yeah, we tried to take all the administrative burden from him. And yeah, please address all the questions to me, and I'll get you registered.
Yeah, and thanks again, Nadrapa, for this opportunity. And I hope that some of you will be taking the course. I look forward to interacting with some of you during language assessment for mental health.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.